Clementine Armstrong. They each pinched their cigarettes between their lips to perform a perfunctory and rather ridiculous handshake, and resumed smoking in silence until he said, "I wonder, where are you? In there." He tapped his own brow and studied her, rather impertinently, with his cool grey eyes. The lashes were dark and distinct. The hair was fair, greying, but his skin, now she looked closer, was fresh. He had a long, elegant face, perhaps a touch fey. "Nowhere thrilling. Sorry to disappoint." She took a last puff of her gasper, dropping the end into the mud between the slatted duckboards. "Well, Miss Armstrong," he said, "you go and get yourself some shut-eye directly. Doctor's orders." She blinked at him wearily and plodded away, aware of his eyes following her, but too tired to be either flattered or irritated, though she was reminded that she really must write to Dennis. How many weeks? She'd lost track. In the ablutions tent, she heated water, added it to cold to make a tolerably tepid mixture, and then, shivering behind a skimpy curtain, stripped off her clothes and washed every bit of her body with carbolic soap. There were bites around her waist and at the top of her legs. Bedbugs, probably, or lice. They got everywhere. The men carried them on their bodies, in their clothes, in their equipment, and there was no getting rid of them despite the bonfires of lousy clothes with their pools of khaki smoke. A mosquito buzzed around her wet body. She smacked at it and dried herself, too tired to wash her hair after all. Goodness knows what might be living in it. And hurried back to her hut, head down, avoiding eyes. Please no one speak to me and waste a precious moment of my rest. Back in her hut, she kicked off her shoes, dropped her outer clothes, clambered up the ladder into her narrow bunk, and plummeted straight into proper, marvellous, exhausted sleep. Something startled her awake, gone by the time she opened her eyes. Cat or rat or dream? She blinked at the wooden wall, the wavery slivers of light between the boards. On the wall, some wag had pinned a calendar, open at last June. Hollyhocks and thatch, a duck pond and a weeping willow on a village green. A wag, or a hopeless nostalgic. Grief regrouped inside her during sleep, and only when she was awake enough to be fully cognizant of where she was did the burden lift. At least here she was busy. There was hardly time to think. Busy, useful, and so tired she actually slept. In fact, could never get enough of it. Now she allowed herself an extra 2 minutes of wallowing before she climbed down the ladder and shivered into her clammy clothes. She felt a little triumph for having achieved the first uninterrupted rest for days. Only 2 bunks in this little hut, and sometimes a mattress on the floor, but not at present, so there was the luxury of space. She felt lucky to be in here, and sharing with Iris too, rather than in the great khaki dorm tent with most of the girls. In this small place one could at least have the occasional, enormous luxury of being on one's Todd. There was a mirror tacked to the wall, and in its cheap glass her face appeared pale and somewhat warped, and that seemed right. There was a look of Ralph. No, don't think, don't. But it was irresistible. Holding her breath, she allowed him into her mind. An experiment. Ralph. Her beautiful, funny, clever little brother. And yes, it hurt. But it didn't destroy her, didn't barge her off her feet as it had done at first. She felt closer to him now, helping boys.